We pass them every day. They come from every walk of life, every color, every creed. But they all took the same oath.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. So help me God.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Pastor Salcedo and Miss Patty, for allowing us to honor these veterans in this special place, their church. Thank you. And how appropriate to have this ceremony today on the eve of the national holiday when we honor and salute all those who have donned the uniform and served in the United States Armed Forces. Our nation owes you a debt of gratitude. We offer a humble thank you for your service and to your families for their sacrifices. In addition, on November 10th, we give a big hoorah and salute our Marines in honor of their 249th birthday, which is today. In 2023, our president stated, "This Veterans Day, we honor the generations of men and women who have served and sacrificed not for a person, a place, or a president, but for an idea unlike any other, the idea of the United States of America. For nearly 250 years, our veterans have defended the values that make us strong so that our nation could stand as a citadel of liberty, a beacon of freedom, and a wellspring of possibilities." So thank you again. I'm gonna, hang on. All right, I gotta get this out. There we go. My name is Pat Graham, and I'm the group leader of the Quilts of Valor group here in Tyler, but I am just a little peon amongst all these other great ladies that are here today to help us award you Quilts of Valor. Let me see if I can see who's here. Yvonne Munn, she's a 21 years retired Army. Rose Wilson, Kathy Benches, 10 years Air Force. Mary Lou, who are you? And Connie Hilliard, Cindy Newland, Lanny Shrink, Joanne Weisner, Prima Wilson, Mickey Markman, and Erica Binder. Is that everybody? Okay, all of these gals are here to honor you. Most all of them, if they didn't make your quilt, they have made a quilt that we are awarding. So I appreciate all of them. We all work together, and we represent Quilts of Valor members all over this nation. Okay. In 2003, a quilter named Catherine Roberts started this movement that became Quilts of Valor when her son was deployed to Iraq. She wanted the soldiers to know she and others cared for them and honored their service. And since that time, which has been 21 years, over 400,000 Quilts of Valor have been awarded. Our sole mission is to honor service members and veterans who have been touched by war with comforting and healing Quilts of Valor. A Quilt of Valor is a civilian award from a very grateful and thankful nation and individuals like us here today. This quilt is an expression of gratitude and meant to thank and comfort you. This Quilt of Valor unequivocally says, thank you for your service, sacrifice, and valor in serving our nation. Valor in the military is giving up your rights to freedom for a term of service in order to ensure the safety of our nation and population. Valor comes from the very best in the human heart. It comes from generosity of the soul, nobility of spirit, and the love of community and country. To take that risk for love of community and country is valor. The word valor also means courage, or courage in the face of danger. Courage is facing an unknown future, but moving forward anyway. You all have done just that, and that is what we celebrate and honor when we award you your Quilt of Valor. We are truly humbled to stand before you men who have served our country, performed your duty, and fought for the freedoms we enjoy today. Each person enlisting in the armed forces, whether a soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, or cadet, takes an oath of enlistment required by federal statute, and I'm sure each one of you probably could still recite it. You say that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that they will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that you will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over you, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. This reminds us of how and why you men served and defended our freedom and liberties. You pledged to do just that. Each quilt of valor is formed by loving hands that join bits of fabric together, one piece at a time. The quilt consists of 3 layers, which is what separates it from a blanket, I want you to know. Don't call a quilt a blanket in front of a quilter. That doesn't work. The top, with its many colors, shapes, and fabrics, represents individuals and community. The center holds the batting, which is its warmth, and the backing is the strength that supports the other layers. Each stitch that holds the layers together represents love, gratitude, and sometimes the tears of the maker when we think of what your sacrifice did for us. On each quilt is a label, which gives your name, date, and place of award, so it has today's date and this place, and the quilters who made your quilt. Someone asked me earlier how many ladies it takes to make a quilt, or how many, shouldn't say ladies, we have men quilters. And usually it's 3, sometimes it's 1, but your quilt will tell you that. We hope you will keep this quilt with you as a tangible reminder that thousands of Americans across this land are forever in your debt. Lori Thompson, a former director of Quilt of Valor, said, "Not everyone answers the call to serve our country. It is those rare individuals sitting here this afternoon who are selfless enough to sacrifice so much so we can all enjoy the freedom we have. We'll never know exactly what each one of you experiences and how you were touched by war, but we can welcome our veterans home, support them and their families, and thank them for their service whenever possible. And that is what we are here this afternoon to do." We have a song as a salute, "Thank You Military." It's a song whose words express feelings in ways my words cannot. And Pastor Salcedo's going to play.
It takes a lot of courage to have to say goodbye, not knowing as you go to war if you will live or die. Many make this sacrifice and they fight to keep us free.
honor you for leaving all you held dear to serve, whether in time of crisis or in time of peace. This Quilt of Valor unequivocally says, thank you for your service, sacrifice, and valor in serving our nation. And so, on behalf of the Quilt of Valor Foundation, in recognition of your service and sacrifice to protect this nation, it is a privilege to award you your Quilt of Valor. So we're going to start one at a time. And first we have first to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the Army goes rolling along. U.S. Army is the oldest service branch of the military. It was formed June 14, 1775, with the task of protecting America's freedom both at home and abroad, ensuring the safety of our homeland and defending democracy all over the world. And our first honoree today is Specialist Richard Hamilton, Army, 1971 to 1973. Thank you, Richard. His wife, Glenda's going to help us. Richard was in Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Hood, Texas, and Vietnam. Okay, we're good. Here's the deal, y'all. If I misspeak or say something out of that's not true, you correct me, okay? That's the deal. Specialist Hamilton served as a deckhand on the commanding general's fishing boat. Is that right? Yep. Okay. He worked in the office of the head, what? Tough job. They want you to hold this in case you say something. Okay. He worked in the office of the headquarters for the 3rd Corps in Fort Hood, met with soldiers returning from Vietnam, was able to minister to them. Heard heartbreaking stories, is that right? Rick was a merchant seaman before entering the military, and he took supplies to Saigon, Vietnam, and met soldiers. Who would have thought? Wow. He told me his highlight was working on the general's boat and meeting all the searchers returning to Fort Hood. Can you share anything about that boat?
Well, actually, it was in Fort Polk.
Fort Polk, okay.
Yeah. And when I first found out about it, we had just graduated from basic training, and so they were assigning all the men the next duty station. And most everybody was still going to Vietnam at that point. And the captain called me in the office, and he said, I'm looking over your records, and I see that you was a merchant seaman before coming into the Army. He said, you know, we've got several different jobs available. One is going over to Vietnam, and the other is that I have, if you might be interested, is working for the commanding general here at Fort Polk.
Well, that was a no-brainer, right?
I had to think a long time about that. 2 seconds. So I did that for about a year, and then after that, got assigned to Fort Hood. And at that point, they were starting to bring, most of the soldiers were coming back at that point, winding down the war. So it was just the hand of God. You know, just kept me from having to go over there. But talking to so many of the friends that came back, you know, it was just heart-wrenching. Yeah. So many things they experienced. But God, He had a plan for all of our lives.
There you go. Some of his awards were Vietnam Service Medal and Marksmanship Medal. Thank you, Specialist Hamilton, for your service. We're going to wrap you in this quilt now. Stand up here. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Don't let it trip you. Now we have Sergeant First Class Brian Bradley, Army, 1983 to 1994, and then 2006 to 2017. He retired. Come on up here. Come on up here and stand up here. All right. His duty stations 3 tours in Germany, Wiesbaden, Stuttgart, and Mannheim. Is that the way you say that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Fort Hood and Fort Bragg, Bagram and Kabul, Afghanistan and Iraq. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Sergeant Brandley joined the Army in 1983 in supply and as a generator mechanic. He quickly transitioned into a cavalry scout. Was in Iraq during Desert Storm with the 82nd Airborne Division, got out of the Army in 1994 and re-enlisted 12 years later. What happened in that 12 years?
I missed the Army. For 12 years, a week didn't pass that I didn't miss the Army.
Wow, that's awesome. So, 12 years later, in 1990, got out of the Army in 1994 and re-enlisted in 2006 as an MP.
Yes, ma'am.
Military police, huh? In Afghanistan, he was Guard Force Commander in Theater Internment Facility. He told me that was a fancy name for a prison. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
He retired from the Army in 2017 after 21 years of service. Wow. And I asked him his highlight, retirement. You got anything to share?
No, ma'am.
He received 2 Bronze Stars, Meritorious Service Medal, Joint Service Commendation Medal, 4 Army Commendation Medals, Joint Service Achievement Medal, and 5 Army Achievement Medals. Thank you, Sergeant First Class Bradley, for your service, sir. All right. Yay! And now we have Specialist Eric Buchanan, Army, 1996 to 2003. Specialist Buchanan was in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. His duty stations, Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, Germany. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You might help me with some of these. I might mispronounce them. Madigan Army Medical Center, Fort Lewis, Washington. Umatilla Army Depot, Oregon. 47th Combat Support Hospital, Kuwait. Is that somewhere close?
Yes, ma'am.
Specialist Buchanan was in a highly classified position in the infantry unit and manned the perimeter and gate. He was a medic at Landstuhl and Madigan. Eric became an LBN when serving a combat support hospital in Kuwait. He ran medical missions flying to Bosnia. Anything you want to share on those?
Not that I can think of.
Oh.
It's tip my hat to all those Air Force pilots that got us in and out pretty quick. So.
He told me his memorable experience was when deployed out as part of infantry. There was a National Guard unit coming through the gate when they were supposed to drop their firearms. Now, you do have to tell us this one.
Had a second lieutenant that forgot there was a round in the chamber and went to go drop the magazine, and the guy that had never met me before knocked me out of the way while she was about ready to pull the trigger, and if he wouldn't have got the firearm away from her, it would have shot me right in the face.
Wow.
And he grabbed it from her and pulled the one and just said, "You always check your chamber."
Wow. So you gave him a big her? Was it a her?
The person that knocked me on the ground was a him. The person that had the firearm was a her.
Uh-oh, there's a problem. Hey now. He also thought he wanted to be a Green Beret, but God had a different plan. What happened there?
Well, I thought I was in the best shape of my life, a little young and arrogant, and I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, after being tested by a Green Beret unit in Germany, and God just had a different plan for me. I thought I was going to go back, and the first sergeant's like, "We'd love to have you back. We don't know what happened." I said, "Neither do I." God just obviously had a different plan for me. But in the end, God always wins, and because if I would have become a Green Beret, I wouldn't have met my beautiful wife, Dawn, and had my family.
His awards were Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, and National Defense. and he currently works for home health and pediatrics and takes care of a little boy. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have to tell you, Prima Wilson over here is one of our new quilters. She happens to be a nurse practitioner. Now, how appropriate. That quilt was picked not knowing that Prima was that, so we have a medical taking care of a medical. Thank you for your service. All right. All right. Thank you, Specialist Buchanan. And now we have Corporal Anthony Orlando, Army, 1999 to 2003. Anthony's duty stations were Vilseck, Germany, Fort Polk, Louisiana. He told me in Germany he was a light wheel vehicle mechanic. He also ran the recovery truck and was a squad leader. Is that right? His unit at Fort Polk was deployed to Iraq, but Tony missed out on going because of knees. He was in contact with the soldiers. So that was one time it was okay for your knees not to work.
I guess so.
All right. He told me his highlight, he met his wife because her brother was his roommate in Germany. Now that's pretty cool.
It worked out pretty well.
And he said also the closeness of his fellow soldiers. Kind of goes along with another one down here that had to re-enlist to miss the soldiers. He told me he could call on many of them right now.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Really, I'm just thankful the good Lord took me where he needed me. And that's how I met my wife, like was said. And that was all because my brother-in-law had to use the bathroom. So I'm okay with that. It worked out really well for me.
Some of his awards were Army Achievement Medal and Good Conduct. Thank you, Corporal Orlando, for your service, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we come to Anchors Away, my boys, Anchors Away, farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. The Navy was established 10/13/1775, right after the Army, and serves as the naval warfare branch of the U.S. Armed Services. It is a seaborne branch of the military. Their mission statement of the U.S. Navy says to maintain, train, and equip combat-ready naval forces capable of winning wars, deterring aggression, and maintaining freedom of the seas. Petty Officer 3rd Class Donnie Ray, Navy, 1963 to 1967. Some of his duty stations were basic and A training, San Diego, California. He told me A training, you all probably know this, but I didn't know this. A training was for fire control technician, which is dealing with the electronics part of the gun. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. USS Saratoga for 3 years and 3 months. He sailed the Mediterranean 3 times, Italy, Greece, and France. Petty Officer Ray was the supervisor of one control room that was responsible for guns and bullets. Is that right? That's a heavy responsibility, having all that around you. He told me the computer was as big as a 4-door truck and full of tubes. Now, can you imagine? And every time it was turned on, he had to reset all the tubes. Is that right?
Every time.
You want to share any more on that one?
Every time.
Every time. And now here's another one. He didn't say retirement, but he said his highlight was the memorable day when he got out.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Anything else?
That's about it.
Okay. Awards. He was during the Vietnam era, Vietnam Medal and a few ribbons. Thank you, Petty Officer 3rd Class, for your service to our nation. Thank you. Now we have Petty Officer Second Class William Coath, Navy, 1965 to 1967, and 1969 to 1971. Is that right? Come on, let's see if we can get you up. Careful. Come on over here and stand by me. There we go. His duty stations: Great Lakes, Illinois, USS Bennington, CVS 20, Gulf of Tonkin. Petty Officer Coath was a sonar technician. Wow. He listened for submarines and surface ships. Is that right? Bill said he was a blue water sailor. Now, I've got to know what that is.
That's a sailor that's usually out in the water, doesn't come to shore very much.
Uh-huh. So you listened to all that pinging? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
He was awarded the Vietnam Medal. Thank you, Petty Officer Second Class Coath, for your service, sir. All right. All right. There we go. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First, to fight for right and freedom and to keep our honor clean, we are proud to claim the title of the United States Marine. Marines were established in 1775. You guys are just all stair-stepped in there. And they were to engage in ship-to-ship battle and to provide forces and detachments to naval ships and shore operations. All Marines are skilled riflemen regardless of the jobs they perform. So we need to watch out for all of you Marines, right? Their core values are honor, courage, and commitment. Sergeant Raymond Lauder, Marine, 1989 to 1997. Come up here. 98, okay. His duty station were 29 Palms, California, Saudi Arabia, Camp Pendleton, North Carolina, and Okinawa in Japan. Sergeant Lauder was in the infantry, an M16 rifleman. Is that right? So you know how to use that thing. Mm-hmm. And he was shot at in Saudi Arabia. Okay, you get to tell us that story.
Well, we was over there making our way up to the base up there, and the friendly thought we was the enemy, so they was firing at us. And one guy got hit and missed his artery by inches. Oh, wow. When I was over there was nobody around, but somebody put me on the ground because I was frozen solid. I couldn't move. I was so scared. I said, "This ain't no way this could be real." And I thank the Lord every day for that. Yeah. That I didn't get shot.
There you go.
Or wounded.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. He told me his highlight was being accepted in the Marines and getting to know his comrades. And I know from other Marines that we've awarded, you're a whole little special group, aren't you? Uh-huh. Thank you, Sergeant Lauder, for your service, sir. Thank you. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. At 'em now, give 'em the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under, off with one roar. We live in fame or go down in flame. Hey, nothing'll stop the U.S. Air Force. Established, they were the young guys, 9/18/47, long ways from the others. The Air Force is the aerial warfare service branch of the United States Armed Forces, and their mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace. The core values of the Air Force are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Technical Sergeant John Canonizzaro, is that right? Air Force, 1978 to 1984. Come on up. All right. His duty stations, San Antonio and Wichita Falls, Texas, Shaw, South Carolina, McCord Air Force Base, Washington, and Westchester, New York. Sergeant Canonizzaro was assigned to a top-secret tactical fighter reconnaissance squadron known as the 363rd Tactical Reconnaissance Wing, that's a word, and would remain at Shaw under various designations. That's sort of in there. The wing's mission was to fly photographic, electronic, and electronic intelligence missions to support both air and ground operations by American or Allied ground forces through its operational component. The 363rd provided combat crew training for reconnaissance air crews. He was also assigned to 318th Fighter Inceptor Squadron and was an air duty crew chief, fighter systems engineer for both RF-4C Phantoms and F-15 Eagle Interceptor Squadron for flight operations, safety, combat readiness. Oh my gosh, what words you've got in there. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Thank you. All I remember is sort of the whole experience. It was peacetime, but even though it was peacetime, we were on 24-hour alert all the time. So it's kind of like we were constantly engaged. And I learned things in the Air Force that have really contributed to my development as a human being. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to serve.
John told me his highlight, he loved what he did and enjoyed all the reconnaissance.
Yes.
And he said, he's told me they were on a 24-hour alert, which was a very high energy assignment. 24 hours is hard.
Yeah.
The Air Force gave him preparatory foundation for his career. Tell us what you do.
Currently, I'm a CEO of a biotech company, and we do personalized engineering in molecular medicine. So I had I've been working now in that field since 2019. But before that, I was in 25 years of clinical medicine and integrative oncology. So I had experience to take me through in this. Yeah.
His awards were Air Force Combat Readiness Medal, Air Force Combat Medal, and Air Force Outstanding Unit Award. Thank you, Technical Sergeant Canonizzaro, for your service, sir. He's going to walk off without it. And now we have Staff Sergeant Roy Gillian, Air Force, 1983 to 1987. Duty stations, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, remote Galena Air Station, Alaska. Is that right? Pretty remote, huh?
Yes.
Castle Air Force Base, California, Spain. Staff Sergeant Gillian was with the 2nd F-15 TAC Command, which is the top cover for America. MAC Base, Military Airlift Command, Castle Air Force Base, California. Roy was superintendent for food service, cooking, and driving truck to deliver rations. But here's the interesting thing. He cooked out in the field and set up tents for King Hussein in Spain. You better tell us a little about that.
Well, I had only been in the military for maybe 6 months or maybe even less than that, but we were in North Little Rock, Arkansas, learning how to do all of this, and we had a team that would a cook team that would go and we learned how to set up in the field and cook and all that kind of stuff, and later, probably when I was about a year in, I had a chance to go to a joint, it was a Central Command exercise, and we went over to Jordan and got for about a little over a month, and we got to feed King Hussein and
Wow.
all of that. It was pretty cool.
They love to see you coming since you're the cook.
Yes.
He told me his highlight was getting to go overseas and seeing different countries and how the people lived. But he has another story. 3 years ago, Roy had a restaurant in West Texas and a couple came in. The gentleman was from Jordan, right?
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, so this was really strange. It's funny how God puts people in your path. And so the guy comes in and he said, I want to talk to the owner of the steakhouse or whatever. And so I go up there in a little bit. He and his wife are there, and he was telling me this story. And he didn't speak very good English, and so I asked him, well, so where are you from? And he says, I'm from Jordan. And I'm like, around the Amman area. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so we were talking, and I said, it's funny. I said, I had gone out to Jordan for a while when I was in the military, and he asked me what years, and so I told him, and he says, really? I said, yeah. And so come to find out that he was the guy that was driving the bread truck around on the base that I was at. And because I was telling him when we were there, and he had told me a story about that he wasn't a very good soldier, and he ended up getting put in jail because he left his gun down. He was only 14 years old, and they were guarding the perimeter where we were actually stationed out there. We were cooking for all the guys. Like I say, it was a CENTCOM deal, and so he would put his gun down and walk about 3 miles into town and go to the movie theater. And they did the rounds and went out and they were checking him. And of course he wasn't there. And so they just waited, and finally he came back, brushed the sand off of his gun or whatever. Well, he went to the brig. So, but anyhow, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I still keep in contact with him today, so it's kind of cool.
It's really a small world.
Yes, it is.
We all are connected. Thank you, Staff Sergeant Gillian, for your service. I love the stories because we are all connected somehow. All right. Okay. Cindy, you're going to pass out the little stars. We have a special star for all of our Quilt of Valor veterans from the East Texas Patriot Guard Riders. The stars have been carefully and respectfully cut from a retired U.S. flag. Once the stars are snipped out, the remainder of the remnants are burned according to government regulations. And there's a little card in that flag that says, I'm tattered, torn, and worn, ready to be retired. Now I am a treasure given to you by a grateful nation who honors you for your service and sacrifice. Because of you, I was able to fly over the land of the free. Thank you for your service. And it says, I have been saved from the fire by the East Texas Patriot Riders. So when we run across them, you can thank them for that little star. I think that's so sweet. They just offered us those back in September to hand out. And she said, we can get as many as we want. Now we come to a special award for those who served in or during the Vietnam War era. And I'm going to ask, we'll just, I think, do up front. Our Quilters Guild of East Texas Quilts for Valor group had become a commemorative partner with the Department of Defense for the Vietnam War commemoration and received this special certificate that's back there and the flag hanging behind me, which allows us to officially represent a grateful nation in thanking and honoring our Vietnam veterans. So as I call your name, if you'll just come forward, we're going to be, and Rose Wilson is going to come present our little pins to you and tell you about them. We have Petty Officer 3rd Class Donnie Ray, if you'll come up, Petty Officer 2nd Class William Cope, and Sergeant Raymond Lauder, if you'll come forward. I'm sorry, Rose, I didn't get it out.
She always has to take care of me. And I want to say, I want to say the very first thing that this is an honor for me. My husband served 2 tours in Vietnam, and I know how it is with the families and everything else. So it's just a very good honor to me. Do we have a problem?
Oh, he's not. He wasn't in the Vietnam.
Vietnam era.
You were there in the Vietnam era, but you were not in Vietnam. Is that what you're trying to say? I messed
Were
up.
you there in Vietnam? No. Okay, I'll let you sit down.
Okay. Oh, down here. Okay, you know.
There we go.
We love all of you.
Okay. Now let's do this again. No, we're not going to start over. For almost 2 decades, Americans raised their right hands and committed to serve and defend our Constitution as uniformed members of the United States Armed Forces during a tumultuous period in our country's history. Throughout the years of the Vietnam War, 9 million Americans earned the title of United States veteran. 58,000 service members lost their lives in Vietnam, whose names are memorialized in the black granite wall at the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. 1,500 service members remain missing and unaccounted for. Today and every day, we honor your bravery and commitment and give thanks to a generation of Americans who valiantly fought in service of the country you love while recognizing the continuing impact on so many veterans of the Vietnam conflict, along with their families, caregivers, and survivors. We pledge to never forget what you have sacrificed for the nation. President Barack Obama stated, and one of the most painful chapters in history was Vietnam, most particularly how we treated our troops who served there. You were often blamed for a war you didn't start, when you should have been commended for serving your country with valor. President Donald J. Trump said, "We vow to never again confuse personal disapproval of war with prejudice against those who honorably wear the uniform of our armed forces. With conviction, our nation pledges our enduring respect, our continuing care, and our everlasting commitment to all Vietnam veterans." President Joseph R. Biden said, "Every service member of the Vietnam generation should know that their sacrifices mattered and that their service made a difference." In 2012, our nation launched a commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War to ensure that every veteran impacted by the difficult years in Vietnam feels our nation's gratitude for their sacrifices. Each Vietnam veteran who served from November the 1st, 1955 to May the 15th, 1975 is eligible to receive 1 Vietnam veteran lapel pin on behalf of a grateful nation. The Vietnam Veterans Lapel Pin is presented on behalf of a grateful nation to living United States veterans who served on active duty in the United States Armed Forces at any time during the period of November the 1st, 1955 to May the 15th, 1975, regardless of location of service. Each veteran is eligible to receive 1 lapel pin. The symbolism. The eagle. The eagle represents courage, honor, and dedicated service to our nation. As one of the most recognizable and notable American symbols, it is emblazoned with distinction on numerous military insignia. The blue circle. The color blue matches the canton of the American flag and signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The circle shape and blue color also match the official seal of the commemoration. The laurel wreath, a time-honored symbol representing victory, integrity, and strength. The stripes. The stripes behind the eagle represent the American flag. And the stars. The 6 stars represent the 6 allies who served, sacrificed, and fought alongside one another: Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, Thailand, and the United States. The message. A grateful nation thanks and honors you is embossed on the back, closest to the heart of the wearer. Also, the official name of the commemoration is included to remind each veteran that this is a national initiative, and this lapel pin is the nation's lasting memento of thanks. And on behalf of this nation and me personally, I would like to welcome you home.
Okay. This concludes our ceremony, but I wanted to share with you the envelopes you received have your certificate from the Quilt of Valor Foundation, a thank you note from our Quilters Guild of East Texas, some color catchers to use when you wash your quilts. They have been washed. They were clean when they came today. And some information about Quilts of Valor. If you know of other veterans or active military personnel who have been touched by war, please help us get their information so we can get them nominated so we can also honor them with this civilian award with a quilt. I have some information back there. My contact information is in your envelope, so you can always get a hold of me or any of us if you need. Many thanks again to Pastor Salcido and Miss Patty for allowing us to use this church. A huge thank you to Corey Starkey for securing all you men's nominations. And you know, today in the NFL, they say America's team is playing right now. Well, now I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, but I'm not sure they're America's team right now. But I am pretty sure that all of you all are America's team. So thank you. We really want to once again heartily thank each one of you for your service to our country. Thank you for allowing us to award you this quilt, which means a lot for us to be able to do that. And now, if you veterans will line up here, we got to get some pictures with all of you.